to another Sci-Fi Fantasy Saturday. Today, I'm going to unbox and take a look at Dune Imperium Immortality. It is an expansion for, you guessed it, Dune Imperium. And it is the third expansion. I've already covered Dune and the first expansion. This is the third expansion, and the boxes are getting smaller. But let's take a look at the back here. Some of the things I like about Dune, and before we take a look at the back here, is it's a good cooperative game, but it also has a built-in solitaire mode that plays nicely as well. And it's a combination of, a little bit of deck building, a little bit of worker placement, and each of the expansions adds a whole a bunch of more variety of places to go and things to do. In fact, it's getting to the point where it's got a little bit of what I kind of call expansion creep, where there gets to a point where it has so many expansions, is it even playable? Meaning, that to add everything in, and to read up all the rules and all the different additions, and to unpack it and to set it up, is it kind of not worth the effort? I don't think this, with the third expansion, it's to that point yet. I think, and I don't think it's quite close to that yet. But a classic example of this is, my experience with Terraforming Mars. I really like Terraforming Mars. I think it's an excellent game. But once you started getting all the different expansions to it, which are many, it has expansion creep to the point where, in order to sort it out and just to play certain expansions, it takes a lot of time to keep everything sorted or to put everything back together. And to play with everything is almost unwieldy, right? It has just expanded so much. And there's a lot of games that do that. I don't know about a lot, but there are several games that do that. And I might do a whole episode on just, expansion creep. But this one's not to that yet. And this is only the third. And my understanding is, that it does change the game up. That if you play with all three of the different, the base game and the two different expansions, it is a different game than the original game, in that there's different options, there's different ways to play the game. And so just know that if you, like me, you want to start collecting it all and feel kind of compulsive on it, that it is a different game experience. Now, I do believe that this is a little bit more modular, right? That you don't have to put everything in. You can kind of keep stuff out and not play with every single one of the expansions. But again, once I kind of put everything together, and I try to keep everything in the same box, which I've got everything so far in this box, and I'm sure this is going to fit in there as well. But you just got to know that as you're getting into it. So let's take a look at the back here. As the great houses wage war, the Bene Tilex advance their own agenda by trading in genetic innovations. Will you hire face dancer spies of unmatched skill, regrow damaged tissue and organs, or dare to employ people restored to life as ghosts? Immortality expands Dune Imperium in new directions, make shadowy deals with the Talexu, probably pronounced that wrong, to harvest genetic specimens, unlock potential of scientific research, graft cards together to empower your agents. Explore a universe of possibilities with Dune Imperium Immortality. Now, this is based on the Dune book series. There's been 2 movies now and a sci-fi show series, which the sci-fi show series is not too bad. But this is based on the book series and the ever expanding book series that Frank Herbert's son got into. Anyway, let's get inside the box here. So you're going to have a new board here. You're going to get into genetics. There's going to be cards that play off that. There's going to be different places to put your workers to play off that and the like. So again, each one of these expansions adds a new board and a new new choices to play the game, which really is going to change up the game. It doesn't make it super complex. Each one of these is not that complex in itself, and the base play of Dune Imperium is not that complex. But when you add everything together, you're getting a lot more decisions, right? So this little box, I mean, it's a nice box, but I'm going to try to put everything into the base box. So get a look at it now, kids. It has a rule book here, which is 16 pages. You've got some new icons. You've got a revised board space. So they're going to be, and they did that in the second expansion. They had like a layover that goes over the main board. It looks like they might have some more layovers that go over the main board here as well. So you've got, this is the new board you're getting, the Benny Thylax kind of genetic board where you're going to be doing some stuff, doing genetic engineering. This is the Benny Thylax board. You're getting new 30 Imperium deck cards, a research station overlay that's going to go over the main board, 18 Thylax Lu deck cards, 1 reserve card, 15 intrigue cards. You'll just probably shuffle those into the intrigue. You have Force House Hegel cards. That's for the solo bot. You have the Family Atomics token, 2 starting cards, and so you're going to be taking 2 of the cards out of the regular starting deck and replacing them with this, and they add some of this genetic abilities here. You get 2 new discs because you've got keep track of your research token here and Thylax token. The Family Atomics is something that, whether you want to play with this expansion or not, and you probably will, especially if you bought it, but the Family Atomics is just a little almost house rule, right? That everybody gets a Family Atomics. And if you read the Dune series, the Family Atomics was always a kind of a interesting thing. It was kind of a mutual assured destruction but also an element of the different houses' power, that they had Family Atomics. Everybody had their own atomics, right? What family doesn't have their own atomics? But with this token now, you can clear the row. And so, there in the base game, of course, the row where you buy cards and, deck build, might have a bunch of stuff you don't want. Well, now with all these different expansions that have different cards that have abilities that are tied to these different expansions, whether it's the research on the second expansion or this genetics board, you're going to want to get to some of those cards, right? And so this Family Atomics lets you clear the board. So that's kind of a nice little, I'll always play with that, right? Everybody wants to have a chance to clear the board in a deck building game to try to get to some better cards. There's always that turn or a couple turns where like there's nothing there that I can use. I hear setup. So for the new stuff, of course, they always have the QR code where you can watch it played and figure out how to set it up. And it's all numbered, so you know where everything goes here. Then you have the Benny Thylax board. This talks about it. So you have this like research icon here, which you're kind of getting into the genetic research. You got these genetic markers, and you're going to have cards that play off of that. You have the Thylax Lu track. Looks like it's going to give you some victory points there as well. The cards that go with it. You get these little green cubes here. And you can see, I mean, there's 15 pages or 16 pages of rules, but there's a lot of open space, and it's some images and relatively large. And then you have this graft function. Some new cards have a modified agent box with a special background and the word graft above it. These cards combine with other cards in your hand to allow plays not otherwise possible. So you've got kind of this built-in combo effect where you can graft. If you buy this card, you can graft it on another card and play it kind of as a combo. So that's and it's kind of thematic into this whole genetics thing, right? So that's a new feature in here as well. Again, when you're adding some of these cards in, though, you have all the cards from the base game, and then if you're playing the second expansion, you're going to have all the cards from the second expansion, which is going to limit your probability of getting some of these cards. And so that Family Atomics is really going to come into play to try to dig deeper and try to get to some of these cards if you're trying to play to that strategy. There's the Family Atomics. Here's variants and additions to the solo games. So you have the new rules on how to add this to the solo play. Then you got some clarifications here, credits, and the new icon. So really the rules are only like 14 pages. So there you have the rules there. Here's your Benny Tilax board, nice little mounted board. And you've got your different areas that you can choose different paths as you advance on this and get different bonuses there. And then you have the other track up at the top that gives you victory points. You've got some new round tokens that are to help you mark off some of these other tracks, and they're in the 4 different colors of the base game. You've got, I guess you don't get green cubes. You use your regular cubes of your color, and you put that on there, and that's how you keep track of that. You've got some small cards and big cards. We'll get into that. You've got a big bag there. And then we have some tokens. There's your family atomics, and there's your research station that's going to go over the main board. So not a lot there as far as overlays are concerned. Let's look at some of the little cards here and see what we have. I mean, if you like deck builders and you like worker placement and you like Dune, then this game is kind of a no-brainer, right? I mean, this is something you're probably going to want to try because it's a nice combination of different mechanics into a themed package. So you have your... wonder if Aaron Rodgers just signed with the Jets. Anyway, sorry about that interruption there. So these are some of your intrigue cards that you're going to shuffle into the intrigue deck, which keeps getting bigger with each expansion. But this is going to be tied to, the Benny Thalax type of victory conditions and boards and what have you. So again, you're adding new stuff to the game, but you're also diluting the cards that you have from the other sets. So, that's always something that, when as I was talking about earlier about expansion creep, something that I had problem with. What was I talking about? Oh, Transforming Mars, right. That, I mean, once you start adding all those cards in, especially cards that are unique to that expansion, you're diluting or reducing your chances of ever getting to those cards. So if you play with everything, it's going to be relatively random. So that's always a trade-off whenever you start adding more and more expansions to a base game. So here's your House Hagel cards. These are just going to go for the solitaire play. And then you've got a bunch new cards here. And this is something that's part of the setup for the Benny Thalax, which is something you can always buy out there, the Reclaimed Forces. And it's something that's always, it's double-sided because you don't put it in your deck. I think you just use that. Then you got a whole bunch of new cards here. And you've got this new icon here to show you how you use some of these benefits that you get over here, use some of these tokens over here. And then you've got that graft function. There's a card that has that graft and how you use that. So a lot of new gameplay here. And this one might be a little bit more complex than the second expansion. Second expansion had some technologies that you researched. This one with this research function on genetics and this kind of a different board and having the graft function, this feels a little bit more complex than the second expansion. And these are those cards that you're going to replace. I can't remember which one you replace, but you replace 2 of the basic cards in your starting deck with these cards, and these become starting cards in the game as well. So there you have it. That is what you get in a box of Dune Imperium Immortality. Mainly you're getting this whole new Benny Thalax board and a bunch of cards that go along with it. Again, if you're a fan of Dune Imperium, then this is probably, you probably already have this, or it's probably something that you're already wanting to get. So anyway, that's what I have for you today on Sci-Fi Fantasy Saturday. Love to know your thoughts on this, on Dune Imperium in general, but if you've got Dune Imperium Immortality, how do you like it? How does it fit in? Love to know your thoughts on that, or thoughts on expansion creep. That's a real, in the hobby gaming world. That is a real thing for certain base games that just keep adding stuff on to them. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Always love to have you stop by. And the best way I know you stop by is drop a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Anyway, have a good rest of your Saturday. Hello again. Here's a little bonus feature. Show you how I pack this all together. Here is the Dune Imperium Immortality box. I didn't check in the bottom here. Make sure there's nothing in there. Nope, nothing in there. So that is now away. And then here is the base box with everything inside here. So I got all the rules here on top and some of the player aids, for solo and what have you. I then got the board from the 2 expansions. Go right there. And I'm still using this insert. I usually throw inserts away, but I try to get as much mileage out of them as I can, and this one can still use, right? And so this holds the main game board there as well. This is the overlay that came in the 2nd expansion and kind of fits down nicely in there. Over here is counters, and then your resources, and then each of the different houses with all their components and their counters. And then, of course, now we have their family atomics in there too. Gotta have that, right? That's a nice little feature there. And then over here are all the cards that are stored. Your battle cards, your intrigue cards, the different decks, and the Hagel cards, and then your technologies or that you research, and then the player aids are down below there as well. But everything kind of fits nicely back in there. As I said, the insert still holds everything still nicely. Rules on top. I always like having the rules on top, because if I ever want to pull a game out and brushing up on the rules before I set it up and make a decision, do I really want to play this game? If you have to dig everything out, then heck, you're halfway there. You might as well play the game, right? There you have it, and it fits relatively nicely there, relatively back in there. So I'm still using the main insert and can fit everything back in the box from the 2 expansions. Thanks all. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.